poisoning.
Two types of brain contusions.
Circumcised and diffused.
Two means.
You're the subject.
Answer the question.
They are the chemical salts formed during putrefaction.
Last one. Hippospadias.
Malformation of the penis.
That's very good, Miss James. This is really the most tremendous exercise.
And it's so much easier to go through the city.
And unlike bicycling, one can go hands-free.
Hey, watch where you're going! Are you two all right? Dr. Ogden. Anina Bloom.
Of course. Nina, this is my associate, Miss Rebecca James.
And this is my friend, Miss Lydia Hall.
Charmed. Those girls have some nerve. They nearly knocked us over, too. You should watch where you're going! May we skate with you?
Yes, of course. It's great for the legs.
And what's good for the legs is good for business.
And what is it you do?
We're dancers. Performers.
Really? I should come see you sometime.
Well, I'm not sure it would be your cup of tea, but, if you have a gentleman friend.
I think we maybe need it. Excuse me, sir.
What happened to her?
Her neck has been broken. It's been a terrible day.
It's been an unfortunate.
Hey, excuse me, ladies. You there, stop, please. Miss Bloom. I didn't realize it was you.
Well, she does look different with her clothes on.
Are you well?
Yes?
William, Miss Bloom and her friend arrived about the same time as we did. She could probably leave.
Right. Thank you, ladies. Miss James.
Her name was Leah Palmer.
Julia, is there anything that requires our immediate attention? It appears to be a tragic accident, which is why I do wish you would change hobbies.
Well, I'll give it up the moment you give up your bicycle. This gentleman says he saw something. I'll let you know if the postmortem reveals anything else.
Hello, sir. Your name, sir?
Edwin Thornburg, man about town.
I understand you saw something?
I see a lot of things, especially after dark. You can't imagine some of them.
Is this specific to the fate of this woman, please?
I saw her skating down here by herself. That's all I see down here these days. Foolishness.
And then?
Well, I turned away, heard a scream, and she was gone as far as I could tell.
Did you not go and look for her to see if she was all right?
I thought she just skated away.
Anything else?
I saw another skater down there.
Male or female?
Couldn't tell. Didn't see them so much as I heard someone skating away.
So someone else was with her?
Well, I never saw them together.
Right. Thank you.
Sir,
Find anything, George?
I'll say. Have a look at this. A roller skating competition.
Anything pertaining to this case, George?
No, sir. However, I'll wager Miss Cherry would love to see this.
Yes, that's Mother. What happened?
She appears to have fallen and broken her neck roller skating.
That's impossible. She was a very experienced skater. She was known for her dance skating. Few were better in the world. She didn't fall.
Miss Palmer, a witness claims he may have seen someone with your mother. Is it possible someone pushed her?
Well, that's it. She was killed. Why does she keep going on about Mother being a terrible skater?
Well, usually when someone is approached by an assailant, there are indications on the body that they fought back. In this case, there were none.
Well, perhaps she was taken by surprise.
Do you know of anyone who may have wished your mother harm?
No, she was a very quiet woman. Well-liked. No one she would have known would have wanted to cause her any harm.
No one?
I don't know, you'll have to ask my father. That is, if you can find him.
You're estranged.
No, I adore him, but he's a drunkard.
Oh my God, Sophie, I just heard. What happened?
These people think that Mother fell and broke her neck, but that's not the case. She was murdered.
Let us get out of this awful place.
So that's the fiancé.
Well, she does not like him.
Oh, you noticed.
A roller skating race.
Not just any race. The Buffalo Queens are going to be there.
That hardly changes things, George. But I have a previous engagement, and I was hoping you would accompany me.
Oh?
It's a lecture on entrepreneurship, about how the books written by Horatio Algier need not be seen as a myth. From all reports, it's incredibly inspiring.
Yes, it sounds it.
And it would be of great benefit to a man like yourself. A man who needs to learn to pull himself up by his bootstraps.
I suppose it would be informative.
So you'll come then.
Yes, of course.
That's wonderful, George. Thank you.
Also, I just remembered the roller skating actually takes place over 2 nights.
So is the lecture.
And we'll be attending both nights?
Of course.
Admirable display of backbone there, Buglux.
Sir?
Not even man and wife, and she's already wearing the trousers.
Did you see these? Those are the ones that nearly knocked us over.
Oh, yes, I believe they are.
Nothing but a bunch of big shots from Buffalo skating around like they own the place.
Oh, well, they...
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna enter that race.
Rebecca, revenge is never a good idea.
I don't care. I'm gonna run them into the ground.
Well, they are professional. Rebecca, are you sure you're good enough?
Oh, I am good enough.
Mr. Palmer, I'm Detective William.
I know who you are.
I'm terribly sorry for your loss.
You know who I'm sorry for? Sophie. Going through her life without her mother. What happened?
Well, that's what I'm endeavoring to find out.
Then why are you wasting your time talking to me?
Is it possible someone who held a grudge against you took it out on your wife?
My wife went roller skating and she fell down. Nothing more.
Your daughter Sophie said she was much too fine a skater for that to have occurred.
She was no longer a young woman, detective. She could have easily stumbled and fell. It is a risky business, this skating.
You and your family recently moved here from Buffalo?
Yes.
I understand you left behind several creditors.
I'm endeavoring to repay them.
And you've picked up a few here since you've arrived.
No one killed my wife to get back at me, sir.
Were you home yesterday evening when your wife set out?
It was.
Do you know where she was going?
No. She said there was some kind of skating exhibition down by Cherry Street. Maybe she was on her way there.
Rolling around with wheels on your feet, bloody ridiculous.
Passing fad, I'm sure.
Nothing but a menace to the roads, if you ask me. Worse than the automobile.
Or the bicycle.
Don't be smart, Murdoch.
Couldn't help it.
Toronto's finest, no doubt. I beg your pardon? I hope you're accustomed to losing. Oh, but of course you would be. You are Canadian, after all.
Don't let it bother you, Rebecca.
Oh, are you going to race too? Oh, no, that would be silly. You're far too frail to compete against real women.
Rebecca?
Doctor?
You need to trounce these women.
I must say, Murdoch, maybe I was wrong. It's actually quite impressive when you sit down and watch it in person.
Detective?
Miss Palmer. Inspector Brackenreed, Miss Palmer.
Nice to meet you. This is my fiancé, Herschel.
Gentlemen. What are you doing here?
Signing up for the race, of course.
You skate as well?
It's something that she's always loved. Hard to keep her away from it, even in difficult times such as these.
I have something that might be of interest to you, Detective. I was going through my mother's things and I found something Truly awful.
A letter?
From when we were still living in Buffalo. Whoever wrote it said that they'd kill her if she didn't leave town.
So you don't know who wrote it?
From the content, it seems to be one of her former students.
She was a teacher.
She taught skate dancing back in Buffalo.
And who were her students?
Some of them are right here. The Buffalo Queens.
I must say, Μέρντοχ, I'm starting to see the appeal.
Sir?
They're real competitors, these ladies. They're not just beautiful women on wheels.
One of them may be a killer.
What about the daughter? Back on skates before her mother's body is even cold.
She is of interest. But one of these skaters may have threatened our victim's life. Whoever wrote this letter is our prime suspect.
We're in control. You'll never be able to stop us. What's that about?
That's what I intend to find out. Ladies.
Mrs. Palmer was a hideous old shrew.
And yet you took skating lessons from her for years.
We all did. She made us better, no matter how cruel and controlling she was.
Did Mrs. Palmer ever compete?
She was a skate dancer. She only taught agility and footwork. She thought racing was grotesque, unladylike.
She disapproved.
Yeah, she was stuck in the 19th century. She didn't like that we dressed the way we wanted, that we did what we wanted.
And all of the skaters felt this way?
Well, Laura was always fond of her.
Why was that?
Because she was the weakest skater. So naturally, she was the teacher's pet. She was just so desperate to make it on the tour.
And yet she is now on the tour.
That's only because Sophie left.
Sophie Palmer. She was once a Buffalo Queen.
Of course. And then when she left, Laura took her spot.
Miss Howard, is it not true that Sophie Palmer's departure allowed you to join the Queens?
Yes, but I would have become a queen eventually, Sophie Palmer or not.
But you forced Sophie Palmer to leave the team.
Sorry, what do you mean?
This letter was written to Mrs. Palmer, warning her to leave Buffalo, and threatens her life.
Well, who would do such a thing?
Miss Howard, as you were the one with something to gain, I am suggesting that you would do such a thing.
Me? Write this? Well, I never wrote so many words in my life.
Miss Dalton.
Let me guess. You're already married?
Pardon?
I'm sorry. Please excuse my rudeness.
This letter would indicate...
How is a woman expected to marry when every man that she encounters is spoken for?
Yes. This threatening letter was found amongst Mrs. Palmer's personal effects, and I believe it was written by a Buffalo Queen.
Why are you talking to me? I never met Mrs. Palmer.
She taught all of you.
Not me. My mother could never afford the lessons. I had no ill will towards Mrs. Palmer.
Ah. Thank you, Miss Dalton.
Happily married?
Look, I'd think I did it too if I were you. You probably heard about the time I slapped Mrs. Palmer in the face for looking at me funny.
No.
Oh, well, one time I slapped Mrs. Palmer in the face for looking at me funny.
You certainly aren't helping your case here, Miss Preston.
What do you want me to say? That I wrote the letter? Fine, I wrote the letter.
You threatened to kill Mrs. Palmer.
Sure. But I wouldn't be saying all of this if I had killed her, right?
I don't know. Why would you be bothered to utter empty threats?
Well, she said exactly the same thing to me.
She said she was going to kill you.
Surely did. Sophie and I were always close, so her mother decided that I was to blame for ruining her life and morals. Told me to leave town or she'd kill me.
Did anyone witness her uttering this threat?
Well, she didn't utter it. She wrote it.
A letter? Do you have it?
Sure, I carry it around with me everywhere I go.
Please answer my questions directly, Miss Preston, and you can keep your sarcasm to yourself.
Or what? I'll get a spanking?
What did you mean when you wrote, "You will never be able to stop us"?
Mrs. Palmer always acted like she was in control of everything. Every one of us, every bit of our whole lives. But she couldn't stop us from skating. Not even her own daughter.
But she did. By moving her family to Toronto.
For a while. Until Sophie did what she had to do.
Did what she had to do.
Sophie might come across as innocent, but she always gets what she wants. If she wanted to skate, she'd stop at nothing.
Could someone really kill their own mother simply to be able to go roller skating?
Roller racing. Something she's good at. What if someone stopped you from being a detective?
I wouldn't kill them, sir.
A few weeks of idleness, sitting around with the missus, and you might change your tune.
Sirs, I've been informed Miss Palmer's back at the roller rink.
Thank you, George.
Do you need any help at the rink, sir?
Oh, I think the inspector and I can handle it, thanks.
Oh.
All right, Crabtree, out with it. What's wrong?
Oh, nothing. I'm just about to miss a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, that's all.
What? It's roller racing?
Sir, it's not just roller racing. It's the Buffalo Queens, the finest, fastest, fittest group of women on wheels the world has ever seen.
Tickets are only 25 cents for 2 nights. I've got mine.
Yes, well, I'm otherwise spoken for. I've told Miss Cherry that I'll attend a lecture on Horatio Alger and self-achievement in the new century.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Sir, they're roller racing. Women flying at high speeds. Danger. Thrills. I'm sure I've never seen anything like it in my life and may never have the chance again.
Listen, Crabtree. I've met Miss Cherry. In fact, Μέρντοχ and I have had a word about it.
Sir?
We all know you've had your fair share of heartbreak. Some of it not entirely of your own making. Women who've left you to follow their dreams, careers, passions. Women who've left you for other women.
Inspector!
But now, you have the perfect woman staring you in the face, ready to take the next step.
Not exactly sure what you're trying to say, sir.
If you let this one get away, Crabtree, you're a damn fool.
Right, well, I'll attend the lecture then, I suppose.
Of course you'll attend the bloody lecture. You'll watch paint dry all night if she asks you to. Keep her happy until you're married, then you can do whatever you like. Isn't that right, Μέρντοχ?
Well, Julia and I take a more egalitarian approach to decision-making, but Miss Cherry does seem a fine choice, George.
Try not to fumble this one, Buglugs.
She has wonderful technique.
It's just roller skating, Doctor. You can either do it or you can't. Isn't that
Sophie Palmer, our victim's daughter?
not one for mourning?
She's incredibly fast.
I'm going to be faster.
Julia? Miss James?
You two ladies playing truant.
Just watching the skating, Inspector.
That girl's got some guts.
Indeed.
It's true, Mother and I didn't exactly see eye to eye. What of it?
She wouldn't let you race.
And so I killed her? That's mad.
You re-entered the racing world the very day you found out your mother was dead.
She didn't approve of me racing. I don't need her approval anymore.
Where were you the night your mother was killed?
You really think I'm the one who did it?
You kept your true feelings about your mother concealed from us.
And what was I meant to do? Speak ill of the dead? Proclaim to the world that she was awful and overbearing and that I hated her? And even if that's true, she was still my mother. Maybe you should focus on finding out who wrote that letter.
We did.
Then what are you doing speaking with me? The Queen's detested mother. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Where were you that night?
I was at home with my father. I'll tell you the same.
Do you believe her?
Well, her father did say that they were home together last night.
Still, there's a hatred in her. You can feel it. I say that we should...
Help me!
Miss Palmer!
What's happened?
I was attacked!
By who?
Who do you think? The Queens! I told you they're out of their minds! Why? 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 Why?
Was it a man or a woman?
Like I said, I couldn't see a thing. They came in, they turned out the lights, everything was black. Next thing I know, I could feel someone near me. And then I heard the most awful, horrible sound and the most awful, horrible pain.
And you believe it was one of the queens?
Who else? They knew they couldn't beat me. Now they don't have to worry. The doctor says I'll never skate again. Would somebody help me?
McNabb.
Do you think the attacker and the killer are one and the same?
Difficult to say with any certainty, sir. But even if they aren't, perhaps finding one will lead to the other.
How could you? She'll never skate again.
I didn't do a thing.
Liar.
Listen, old man, if I did it, I'd be boasting about it all over town.
The girl made short work of you there.
Oh, you're vicious. You saw what they did to my Sophie.
How can you be sure it was them?
Who else would have done it?
That's what your daughter said, but I'm afraid circumstance is not the same as evidence.
All she ever wanted was to skate. And now that's been taken from her. Forever.
Sir, shall we speak with the skaters? Sir. Ladies, a word?
Hold it, Μέρντοχ.
Sir, we need to establish where they all were at the time of Miss Palmer's attack.
In a minute. Watch. Bloody good, aren't they?
Yes, and very fast.
More than just fast.
Be that as it may. Stop!
Don't stop for him.
Constable, a bite to eat before a lecture?
Louise, I was about to come talk to you.
Are you all right, George?
I think it's just a common cold, but it's uncommon in that it's so bad. I have a really bad cold.
I see. Well, you can't be attending the lecture.
I don't think I can. I'm terribly disappointed.
Head straight home. And telephone me if it gets any worse. I can pop right over.
You'll be at the lecture.
I'm not going without you, George. If I went alone, some aspiring businessman might think I'm there looking for a husband.
I'm sorry, Louise. I didn't mean to ruin your night as well.
Miss Cherry, I couldn't help but overhear. If you're without plans this evening, you're welcome to join me at the roller races.
Oh, George. It appears the whole city is swept up in roller fever. I'm afraid I should decline. I'm not much good at sporting events. I could never get past the why of it. Who cares who's the fastest? I suppose it's nice for them, but what does it matter to anyone else?
I don't know. I find it hard to turn away from the pursuit of human excellence in any form, no matter how trivial.
I never thought of it that way.
Well, no, nor should you. I mean, we can't all be fanatics. I'll talk to you tomorrow, Louise.
Indeed. And I just wanted to say I'm very much looking forward to our dinner on Sunday.
Oh, as am I. And the detective. We'll be glad to have you.
Goodbye, George. Rest up.
I like her. She's strong, opinionated, kind. She's certainly beautiful. She's lovely, George.
I know.
Well, depending who you ask, none of them could have done it. And any of them could have done it.
Don't understand, sir. If they're all lying anyway, why not at least get their story straight?
They all traveled together, but competed against one another, friends and rivals. Now, some of them have been trying to help, while some have been lying to make the others look guilty.
Right. Perhaps then, sir, the answer lies with the victim's loved ones.
Ah, yes. Mrs. Palmer's husband and daughter provided alibis that are impossible to prove one way or the other.
Just as suspicious as the Queen's, then. I suppose her the skater with the most immediate motive would be Sophie Palmer.
Oh, yes, her mother was controlling. But I remain skeptical that merely keeping her daughter from skating could be motive for murder.
Good luck out there. I don't need luck.
No, I suppose not. You'll lose all the same.
I found something, Μέρντοχ.
About the killer?
About the Buffalo Queens.
Which one?
All of them. They're a team, Μέρντοχ. They pretend to race against one another, but they're always working together.
Still, one of them has to win.
They take turns. I got Jackson to pull newspapers from all the cities where they've been on tour and put together the results. They don't win every race, that'd be too obvious. But when they do win, it's already settled which one of them will take the trophy. This time it'll be Mildred Preston, mark my words.
So they're cheating. They work together to ensure that they win the bulk of the prize money and then divide it evenly.
It's not about the prize money. But you see, they decide ahead of time who wins.
They're placing bets.
Exactly.
So funny. This happens to me all the time. I have a twin brother named George. He rarely
can it? You're not very good at faking a cough.
I'm sorry, Louise. It's just that I so badly didn't want to disappoint you
George, I don't care.
You don't care?
No. You did what you had to do to get what you wanted. Next time, save yourself the trouble and just tell me.
So you're not upset that I lied?
How naive do you think I am? Everyone lies. So, who do we have money on?
Well, I just...
Come on, it's starting. You don't want to miss it.
The letter. The one written by Mildred Preston to Mrs. Palmer. It said, "We're in control. You'll never be able to stop us."
They were talking about gambling. The victim knew what they were up to.
Yes, and they killed her to keep her from exposing it.
William? Hector?
Once they fix the race, they ensure they get the win.
It's always about the money, Μέρντοχ.
Rebecca! Are you all right?
Julia.
You did that on purpose! Oh, you should be ashamed of yourself! Hey, did you see what they did, though?
I'm aware that your races involve betting.
You are a clever man. Who cares? Anyone can see that.
Please put that down. I suspect that you all bet on the eventual winner of the races, in this case, Mildred, and then all work together to ensure that result.
Is that against the law, Detective?
No. But it does provide you with sufficient motivation to have injured Sophie Palmer prior to the race.
We were all in the arena at the time that Sophie was attacked. Even our bookie will tell you that.
Well, I hope so for your sake. My constable is speaking with him now.
Miss James.
I want to throttle each one of them.
Composure, young lady.
I want satisfaction. My ankle is well enough to skate tonight.
But not well enough to win. If you want to win, we need to play them at their own game.
We?
Well, I am an Olympic gold medal winning coach. I might just be able to help Miss James.
Very well. What do we need to do?
We need to assemble a team that are willing to mix it up even more than the Queens.
I can play dirty.
Good, good. But we need a team. Do you know anyone else who can skate?
I just might.
Sir, I spoke to the bookie. He says that the Queens were indeed with him at the time Sophie Palmer was attacked. Let's see if he can be trusted. He's a bookie after all. Although I hope he can be. I've played some hard-earned money with him.
A bookmaker's living necessitates his trustworthiness, George. I'm sure he'll be fine.
One other thing of note, sir. He said that Herschel Humphreys, the fiancé, placed the largest single bet of the day.
Oh?
More interestingly, he bet on the field to beat Sophie Palmer.
He bet against his own fiancée, who recently became unable to skate. Almost as if he knew what was going to happen to her.
Lace them up, Doctor.
Come in.
Duty calls, Miss Bloom. Where would I find your friend? Gentlemen, I'm afraid you'll have to finish your painting later. Young lady, you're coming with me. I apologize for your disappointment. No. We are going to pursue what I've invented, a diamond formation that I used at the Olympics called the diamond formation. Diamond. Your two wide players block from the wings while your back player zooms through.
That makes no sense. This is a football formation. We are on roller skates.
It's the same principle with a ball or without a ball.
We wouldn't be able to do it until the third cycle.
The third cycle?
The third way around. There's no point in starting.
Miss James.
It looks like you could use my help.
Unfortunately, I have to work this evening. I was looking forward to a quiet night in with you.
Oh, well, that's fine, William. I may be meeting with some lady friends this evening anyhow.
Well, I hope you have a wonderful time there.
We will.
Mr. Humphreys.
What is it?
It's come to my attention that you've placed a significant bet on the race.
And what of it?
And that you've effectively bet against your own fiancée, Miss Sophie Palmer.
Congratulations, Detective.
You admit to this?
I do.
Well then, that provides you with enough motivation to have injured Miss Palmer prior to the race. Do you as readily admit to that?
She deserved it.
Well, then you are under arrest, Mr. Humphreys. Would you care to explain yourself?
She's not my fiancée anymore.
Well, she's broken off the engagement.
Apparently, her mother was the only reason we were together in the first place. Sophie and her father both hate me.
Do they?
The moment her mother was dead, Sophie dropped me like a sack of coal. If I didn't know any better, I would think that Sophie herself killed her mother just to get out of the engagement.
If you didn't know any better.
I was with Sophie the night her mother was murdered. It couldn't have been her.
You were with Sophie that night. Mr. Palmer, you and your daughter both told me that you were together the night of your wife's death. But I've since learned otherwise from Mr. Humphreys. In fact, he told me he and Sophie were together that night. Your daughter covered for you.
It wasn't supposed to happen this way.
How so?
Leah and I were out skating the boardwalk. As usual, she began planning out her daughter's life. I had to stand up for Sophie and myself.
What happened?
We began arguing. I wanted her to let Sophie pursue her passion again.
The roller racing.
But most of all, I wanted her to stop being so domineering with the both of us. She was forcing Sophie to marry Herschel. She didn't want to.
So you pushed your wife off the boardwalk to free your daughter?
We began to struggle, and I pushed her. But I didn't think she would fall and die.
Did Sophie have a hand in it as well?
No, absolutely not. I told her the next day what happened after you'd already spoken with her. She insisted on providing my alibi. I was prepared to turn myself in. I still am, so long as Herschel gets his due for crippling Sophie.
He will. Mr. Palmer, you are under arrest for the murder of Leah Palmer.
May I watch one last race, Detective?
Julia.
Right, ladies, remember. Don't let them get under your skin, but don't hesitate to get under theirs.
And remember to get out early and block the queens before they can block you.
And ladies, if you get a chance to knock one of them off the track, that will really throw the cat amongst the pigeons and bollocks their plan up.
Cat amongst... I'll relish it, Inspector.
Are you sure this is going to work?
If everyone does their job, it will.
Good luck,
Good luck, ladies.
One more thing, ladies. 1, 2, 3!
On your mark, get set, go!
I was left with little choice but to appeal directly to the city for the necessary funding.
You did so in person?
Oh, face-to-face is the only way of convincing these dastardly bureaucrats to give you anything.
Oh, Julia, you do make me laugh.
They're not all bureaucrats, Julia. Philip Nemeth, for instance, is quite considerate. Certainly not dastardly.
Shush, William, you're ruining my story.
Thank you, sir.
No sirs here, George. It's William when you and Louise are our guests.
Please do continue your story, Julia. Did you manage to secure your funding?
I certainly did. And to this day, my morgue boasts one of the finest collections of post-mortem texts in all of Canada.
Yes?
I should love to see your morgue one day, Julia.
Although I lent the previous coroner one of my finer texts, and I never saw it again.
I do love that you've chosen to live in a hotel. How romantic.
Well, we did consider building.
Oh, what prevented you?
Well,
We found several corpses on the property.
3 of them.
Sir?
Ah, George. That is a tea bag.
A tea bag?
A recent invention of a New York City merchant. He originally intended for the tea to be removed and brewed traditionally, but I have discovered that it is far more efficient to steep the tea inside the perforated bag.
A tea bag. Now I've seen everything.
You're so knowledgeable, Detective.
Oh, I assure you I'm not.
I understand you also know a great deal about batteries.
The detective is a veritable expert on the matter.
Well, then I should love to hear what he has to say.
Battery stories. Mostly positive, actually.
Look at those stars. What a wonderful night.
Wonderful indeed. Certainly more illuminating than those awful bores.
Bores?
The Murdochs.
The Murdochs?
They spent all night prattling on about medical textbooks, tea sacks, and batteries. And to live in a hotel. What a sad little existence.
I thought you quite enjoyed yourself.
Good heavens, no. Promise me that however old we grow together, we will never become like them.
I promise.
But he is your boss. We did our duty. I look forward to introducing you to more appropriate friends, George.
I suppose we can now find out who truly is the better skater.
Are you sure your ankle is healed sufficiently, Rebecca?
Think you can win without my help?
I do believe that this trophy shall remain mine.
Only one way to find out. Ready?